wasn't that long ago where I started looking at I thought, oh, well, God, maybe you have done something in my life. And I start looking back, and I start seeing how he's taking a situation or circumstances that are totally off the wall. Here I am in the leadership of probably one of the largest churches in Ketchikan, and here my family has fallen apart because of my daughter and her drug abuse. And how do I deal that? Everything that I had everything that I had believed in, like with my, in my family. I mean, the family was was the core of one's, worth, really, and was falling apart. I mean, I bring my kids up into believing in God. Kara she was probably the first week she was born was sitting in the front row of the Assembly of God Church in Ketchikan. I mean, that's just the way we were. I mean, the church and God in our life was just everything. And she was totally involved, did really good. Got pictures of her in her little Indian outfit, what Thanksgiving at the church plays, and being thankful for the things of God. She's got this. In fact, she was the cover girl for the Christian school that was there. I mean, it had over 100 students at one time, and they had a picture of her on the front with her little headband and her little feather sticking up, and it was part of the Thanksgiving Day prayer play. And thanks. And so, I mean, things were looking good. She was in sports, doing really well, playing basketball, and good grades and all that. And then, as I shared, I think most of you heard it. I get a call on that one Saturday night, and it's one of her friends and dear family friends of ours. It's their daughter. Mr. Nelson, could you come up and get Kara? And she's passed out in my car, and they had found her pretty much face down, laying in the parking lot out at the recreation area, and I mean, with no, just clothes on like that, and it's like cold out in the middle of the winter, and I went to go pick her up, and I still remember that. I don't know why it's so emotional, because it was probably, I was never equipped to handle. I mean, here I am, leadership in the church, and I figured I had it all together, and I was not equipped at all to deal with what was about to happen in my life and in our family's life. And fast forward over the next few years, gone was my relationship with my daughter, and just nothing but strife and yelling and all the stuff that goes along with that. And so I got really cynical on drugs, people who did drugs, and to the point where I just, as I like to say, do the crime, do the time, throw away the key. I don't want anything to do with it. And that's how I lived my life pretty much over the next many years, to the point where I never visited with her. I never saw her. I never went out of my way to see Kara. Never. Unless I think one time I had to go to the Ketchikan jail to tell her something. I don't know what it was. And Jesus had no relationship at all. But, you know, like I like to say, but God. I had such a desire to know God. During all this time, God was making himself real in my life, I guess, for lack of a better word. There was, you know, Rodney Howard Brown came to town. You guys probably don't know who he is, but he was a huge evangelical preacher that hit southeastern Alaska in early 1990s. And he was spending a month at a time in Kitchikannon and Juneau preaching, and places were packed. And it turned the towns upside down while he was there. And during that whole time, and so, you know, I was really involved in that, and it really impacted my life. And basically, to sum up, his whole ministry was that I was seeing the manifestation of God in the flesh. I was seeing people's lives change, people being impacted, healings, people being delivered. I mean, I believed in all that, but to see it in such a huge venue was amazing. And I asked Kara to come. I think that was probably the one time that I went out of my way to see her, and that I bribed her into coming to the meetings. Told her I'd pay her $5 an hour, $10 an hour.
$5 for every person I
And
brought.
then on top of that, $5 for every person. Well, she brought 12 people.
Party's on me.
Yeah. And they all came. And that was pretty crazy. But I lay that groundwork to show and what, you know, what we're looking at here is that in spite of circumstances, the thing I've learned out of all this is that we can look at our circumstances and think that nothing's going to change. You look around and you see how things have gone for year after year after year, and we think, well, where is God in all this? And I've seen my daughter, I didn't see her much at all, doing the same little thing. I mean, it was. And in fact, I was kind of grateful that she wasn't there, because whenever we got together, it was just chaos. And yeah. And there's lots of situation I could comment on, but I'm not, just for lack of time. But it was just it was a crazy time. But at the same time, it was a good time, because God was beginning to reveal himself in my life. And we ended up coming here to Juneau. One of the main reasons was to give the kids a break that were living with us, to give them kind of a new start. And we ended up at Juneau Christian Center, and nothing had changed as far as I was concerned. And then I was asked to teach that Bible Sunday school
Foundations.
class. Huh? Foundations class, that was it, yeah. During this whole time, I was starting to learn about this whole grace thing. You guys have heard of Joseph Prince?
Oh, yes.
Well, I had back in about 1985, about